was inspired with the name of Emperor Ashoka is because he has done so much for us, as for the civilization as well as for Ayurvedic medicine and surgery, besides Buddhism, that I was awestruck. It is kind of unfortunate, up until some 150 years ago, he was buried under the dust of history. Now he is a big name, both for the government of India, the people of India, and of course, he is one of my heroes. Thank you for the opportunity. And my good friend Pankaj, Raja, and I believe Shaili is here, who is the sculptor of the medallion that we created. Now this is the coveted medallion. It was sculptured by Shaili, who I believe is here, and President Pankaj Ahari. I am just the foot soldier. You can see the Samrat Ashoka pillar, the kind two hands, and there is Taiwan, where there is a good connection between Buddhism, Ashoka, and therefore today's oration. Now, this is created by AI. These days, everything is AI. He was the emperor 268 to 232 BCE. And you can see the 24 spokes up there, which denotes 24 very basic attributes of Buddhism. Now, this is artist's rendition of sage Sushruta. We haven't seen him, and you will see a different image in Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh in Melbourne, or for that matter, if you look at the book of all illustrations, but this is another one. Now, you can see Sushruta, Ashoka, and Buddhism were interwoven, and the knowledge spread via the Silk Road up to Taiwan, where David comes from, Japan, Far East, and Arthashastra is the fourth leg that was created by Chanakya that provided the matrix on which Ashoka's universal healthcare was built on. You can see this is the the Patliputra area. This has been the capital of India for 1400 years, though of course it is a little bit backward today, but that's where most of the North Indian emperors ruled from. And you can see it came to Taiwan, it went to Bactria or Parsha and northern part of here, up went to the northern rim of Taklamakan Desert in China, then moved on to Far East as well as to Taiwan, Japan, and you name it. Now, Ayurvedic medicine has thrived since the Vedic age. It was the cornerstone of Ashoka's universal healthcare. Why I keep saying universal healthcare? This was an original concept he introduced, and now it is the buzzword all over the world. Emperor Ashoka supported the first universal healthcare, Buddhism, and Ayurvedic medicine. His commitment was later continued by Somudragupta, Kanishka, he was an Afghan king, and Vikramaditya. You can see nothing happened in the vacuum, it's a continuity, though we only talk about Sushruta out of our limited knowledge. Now, there was a question of Dhamma or Dharma in the Buddhist culture of religion and faith, which basically meant a little bit different between Ashoka and Sushruta. To Ashoka, it included compassion, tolerance, state-sponsored benevolence, whereas Sushruta picked it up as medical duty, training, hygiene, and responsible surgery. His residency program is still the template throughout the world. And Sushruta and Charaka were not alone in advancing the Ayurvedic medicine and surgery. Samudragupta was another famous Indian king who was labeled by the Western historians as Napoleon of the East. I guess it should be called Napoleon was the Samudragupta of the West, because he came a lot sooner and his empire was a lot bigger than Napoleon's. And therefore you can see that he supported Ayurveda and medical care. And it goes on to say what they have done. Today, thanks to the Archaeological Survey of India, now you can see throughout India, his rock-cut edicts and stupas are found across India today. And EBD is evidence-based data. Now, there is a controversy between what is evidence-based data and what is mythology. Now, there is a new brand of Indian historians who wants to call the mythology as living history. Like there are 4 epics, Mahabharata, Ramayana in the East, and Iliad and Odyssey in the Greek literature. But our new brand of historians are saying they are not mythology, they are really truth. I won't go into that. Now, Ashokan Empire was mainly his desire to build a moral empire on moral values, not just transactional values, as it is becoming more and more familiar today from Washington, D.C. And Ashoka and Sushruta was spread to China, Taiwan, Japan, as I said, and Far East. The concept of equal under the law is nothing new, even though it is become a credo of the American legal system on the Supreme Court of American. It is written in Greek that only was written in 1935, whereas Ashoka invented it, or rather introduced it, some 2,300 years ago. Now, Arthashastra is not about money. It is about statecraft, and that was written by Chanakya, which is still the bench book for the Indian Foreign Service. It is so relevant even today. And that is the utopian side of it. Now look at this. Ashoka maintained a large standing army as a deterrent. As famously Teddy Roosevelt coined the term, carrot and stick. That's the same thing. After winning up to the Kaveri River in the south, he decided there's no point of acquiring more land, so he won and gave them back and make them vassal state, who then followed his principles of governing the people. And therefore, Ashoka is really the spine of Indian civilization as we know today. The joint legacy of Ashoka, Charaka, Chanakya, and Sushruta is now a living legend. And Ashoka built the external framework with Arthashastra, which gave the law of the land as well as law of practicing medicine, whereas Sushruta kind of modified it for human civilization. Mind, body, and society are governed by reason, compassion, and discipline. Well, big men always have their own views, and both are correct. Now, here in 1952, when India became independent after 200 years of British colonial rules, the Indian Constitution was written in 1952, and from day one, they have revived Ashoka's nonviolence, peace, and tolerance, which became the face of peaceful Bharat today. If we follow it or not, ask our neighbors. You know about Operation Sindoor.